Hi guys, this is Suzanne HB, Crazy Just Might Work on Instagram, and today's tutorial is on the Swoosh bracelet, one of my new designs. You can kind of vary this design depending on the number of bands you use on these internal ones. I'm going to do the design today based on the original number, which was 2 bands on here, 4 bands on here, and 2 bands each time on the outside colour. Now I've had my mum request a bracelet for this one, so I'm using her colours that she's requested, which are navy opaque for the outside bands, and for this blue band here, the biggest part of it, the bit that I think of as the swoosh part, I'm using jelly turquoise. And for the smaller part in between here, where I've got black on this one, where I've got purple on this one, black on this one, and pink on this one, I'm going to use opaque white. Alrighty, now this is the setup you'll need for the loom. The top bar pin separated from the bottom one, take your middle section out, and these ones need to be aligned. You're only going to use 4 pegs, and I'm going to use these 4 here today. Okay, so first step you're going to do is to take your perimeter band colour and take it across. Now that's doubled, that's 2 bands in one, and take it across there. You don't need to twist it or anything. And this is the only step that you'll actually use your perimeter band across these 2 pins. It just gives it a neater finish at the end. Then take another 2 of your perimeter bands and put it on this right side here. Now this is where it gets crazy looping. You just put your hook under like that, grab the 2 bands over this side, however is easiest, hook them through, stretch them, give them a really good stretch. That's why I'm using rainbow loom bands, some resilient bands, and hook it back over to that side. Okay. And then the next band you lay are going to be the bands you're using 4 of. In my case I'm using the jelly turquoise, so I'm going to grab 4 jelly turquoise, just stack them on top of each other, and put them across these 2 pins. So next, once you've put bands across here, you loop up the bottom colour under, depending on how many bands you've got on the different layers. So in this case I'm looping up those 2 bands on either side. And then once you've looped that up, you're going to do this perimeter band again. So we grab our perimeter colour again, and because we did it from the right, we're now going to do it from the left. The way I tell, and it'll be a bit more obvious once we get going, but I tell from the one that's the side that is higher. So this one's sort of going on the top, and then this one's coming up from underneath. So the one that's going in on top, that's the side you lay the next band, or the next bands, because we're doing 2 bands on the perimeter. So you hook it on there, hang on to it, we go underneath, grab those, and when we stretch it under and back to the other side, we stay on the left of these bands. So we go under, keep it on the left of those bands, and hook it across to there. And yes, it is important you keep it on the left coming from this side, and you keep it on the right coming from the other side. So it is important that when you're looping from this side, you go under and keep it on the left of these bands. Okay, then once you've done that, you grab the bottom layer of bands on this back, loop it up and over. So it's going to be 2 bands. Grab the bottom layer and make sure you have got the bottom layer, not the next one up on this step, because it's kind of tricky. Bottom layer, up and over. Again, don't worry about the fact that that's a little floppy there. That will sort itself out. Okay, push down. Now we're going to go to the band colour that we're going to use as our internal bands. So we'll now go across to the white for this bottom colour here. So 2 white across. So you lay the bands across, hook these ones up. Now you've got 4 bands, you can hook them all up at once, or you can hook 2 at a time. It doesn't really matter so long as they all get over there. and roughly in the same order. So if you want to, and you can only grab 3, you can put 3 over and then that last one. I probably take the top ones first and then the bottom ones. But if you're using a metal hook, you can generally get 4 and lift it over all at once. So we've looped those ones up. The next step is going to be to loop a perimeter band. When I say a band, you'll know that I mean 2 bands every time. So we go to the right hand side, because as you can see, this one is the band on top and then it comes out underneath. So the side that the band is on top, entering from the top, that's the side you're going to pull this. Okay, and as with the other side, once you grab that, you're going to keep it to the right of these bands instead of the left. So looping from the right pin, you grab it, stay to the right of those bands, sorry if I get in your way, and loop it up to the other side. And this is what makes it sort of give that swoosh effect from side to side. Okay, so you've looped that on, grab the layer underneath and lift it over. Okay, so we've got white on here, which is our 2 band, so we go back to laying our 4 band colour. So I'm back to my turquoise and lay my 4 bands across. Lay them across, so loop up the white bands from underneath. We've only got 2 bands to loop up this time. Loop those up. Now we can see that the perimeter band is going in from the top here and coming out there, so that side that's coming in from the top, that's the one we're going to loop. So we lay 2 more perimeter bands on there, grab from underneath, give it a good stretch, and we're going to stay on the left of these bands. Once that's looped, grab that back band and bring it over. And you can actually start to see that this band goes kind of straight and this band goes to the left, because on the band they'll give a kind of that swooshing effect side to side. My mum thinks they look like waves, so that's why she's chosen these colours to be oceany colours. Okay, so we've done the 4 band colour, so we'll swap back to the 2 band colour inside. Put those across there, grab up those 4 bands. As I said, if you've got a metal hook, you can usually manage 4 bands to go over at once on both sides. We've got this band coming in from the top and out the bottom, so we want to go looping from this side this time. And if you lay them in the order that I've laid them following this tutorial, your bands will always loop from the right when you've just looped up the 4 bands, and they'll loop from the left when you've looped up the 2 bands. So we grab that and stretch, keeping that on the right hand side of those bands you've just looped up, and over to the other side. Grab the ones at the back, which I've managed to get twisted. Grab the ones at the back, 2 bottom bands, pick them up and over. Okay, so it's kind of self-correcting. If you've got your 2 band colour here, you know you need to lay your 4 band colour, and then if you follow the side that's on the top rule, you won't get confused about which side you're supposed to be laying either. Alright, so I've got my 4 bands next. Loop up the 2 from underneath. See, we've got the white 2. Because we've now looped that up, we need to do our perimeter funny band. Okay, so coming in from this side on the top, so we're going to be looping from this side. So in and grab, stretch under, keep to the left of those bands and onto the other side. Grab the one underneath, the 2 bands underneath, and stretch up and over. Right. Now this kind of grows a bit strangely underneath. I'll just show you. It actually grows, this is the signature side here of the swoosh. and I might have to wait till it's a little bit longer to show you, but you do have to give it a reasonable stretch, and that pulls the things into place, and you start to see how the band's going to start to look when it's all coming through. But you do need to give it a stretch because it will stretch into place once it's been done, and if you don't stretch it, then your band will stretch and you'll end up with a bracelet that's too long for what you were actually wanting. So intermittently, each inch or so, I would give it a stretch and make sure you're still on target for the size band that you want. Or I'll do a few more and we'll see how we go. So I'm back to doing my 2-colour, looping up my 4 bands. Sometimes I do tend to rest my finger here just to make sure that I don't lift them off, particularly when I'm doing the 4-band lift over. Okay. Oops, I just can't pick up my bands. Alright, so I can see that the band on top is this side, so I'll lay from this side, go under and loop, stretch, keep it on that right hand side, and over to there, grab the underneath and bring it over. You get into a real swing with this one after a while. Alright, lay my bands where I want 4. Oops, 4 bands. Bring these ones 2 up and over. I can see that I've got the band coming in from the top on the left. So I'll lay my perimeter band from the left. I just usually help it with my thumb. Just all you need to do is just get it hooked on there and then it'll come through. Stretch it. You want to grab, that's a fairly decent stretch as you can see. Keep it on the left there and hook it up. So certainly you want your perimeter bands to be good quality bands because they do take a bit of stretch. Make sure you haven't twisted them like I have. And you're grabbing the bottom ones. There we go. Okay. I've got 4 bands on there, so I lay my 2. Hook my 4 up and over. Hang on to it this time. Now I'm coming in from the right. So I can see my bands coming in from the top there, and I know that on my 4-band stage, whoops, if I've just looped up my 4 bands, I'll be looping in from the right. Trying to talk and loom at the same time, tricky. Okay, so bringing that under, staying to the right, and moving it over this way. Grabbing the bands at the back, making sure I've got just the 2 from underneath, lifting them up and over. Okay, we'll go underneath and we'll see how things are going along here. As you can see, this stretch part is how it's going to end up looking, and it's kind of a little bunchy up here. So you give it a nice stretch. Again, another good reason to use resilient bands, but you can start to see that you get the swooshy kind of line running through it. I haven't done it with jelly bands before, so it's an interesting, slightly different effect with the jelly and the opaques together, using this number of bands. Quite like that. And the reverse side looks much the same, except it's a little bit inverted. And the other thing you can do is you can actually, because it's just basically the opposite side, you can actually get this a little more prominent by just stretching it through to this side a little bit more, because it's just taking it from the opposite side. So you can kind of stretch out that band to make it a little bit puffier if you want to, after you've given it a stretch. So yeah, that one's sort of now looking a little bit more puffier compared to the one next to it. So you can just steal the band length from the one behind it, and if you stretch it out too much like I did, it's pretty easy to adjust. You just go behind and stretch it back the other way. Grab whichever bands are coming out too far and just stretch it back the other way. I'll fix that up later when it's off the loom. Okay, so I'll go through it a couple more times in case, because it's kind of a little bit odd the way this is done, and then I'll finish it off and I'll come back for the ending off. Okay, so we've done this one, so the next one we're going to lay is our 4-band. 1, 2, 3, 4. Great. Here we go, 1, 2, 3, 4. Loop up the 2. We've looped those. We need a perimeter bands. And coming in from the left, because we can see it's coming on the top there. You also know that coming from the left is for the 2 bands layer. Grab the ones from underneath and next layer. Okay, grab a 2 band internal colour, lift over the 4 bands, it's coming in from that side on top. That's the 4 bands we've just looped up, so we're coming in from the right. Stretch under and over. And lift up. Okay, we'll do it 2 more times. Need our 4 band colour. Sorry, I'm just having trouble grabbing onto 4 bands. 4 band colour, stretch it across. I've been trying to keep them relatively straight. I'm not really that neat a loomer. They don't have to be perfectly straight because it's kind of a swooshy design. Coming in from the left, because we can see this on top. Coming in under. Stretching it, keeping to the left. And up. Grabbing hold. And looping up from the bottom. Last one. 2 band colour. Bring it over. Bring it over. We can see it's coming in over the top here. So we'll come in from the right. Good stretch. Over to the left. Grab bottom 2 bands, bring them over, and bottom 2 bands, bring them over. Okay, so I've got a reasonable length on there. Oh, excuse me. It's getting to be about half a bracelet now, and as you've seen, that's grown fairly quickly. So I will go off camera anyway and finish off the length of this, and I'll come back and finish it up. Alrighty, I've done what I think should be the right size for my mum's wrist. So we've got this length. I've stretched it to make sure it's not going to be too stretch out too much for her, so you can get the stretched idea. And I'll show you in a minute what I can do to puff out those swoosh bits a little more. So this is a very easy finish for this band. All you need to do is finish with your 2 band colour, internal colour on here. So this will be the last one you've looped over. You've done your blue band loop under and loop the back over, and you're left with these the 2 band colour on here. So all you need to do is grab this 2 band colour, put your thumb on here or your finger, loop it up to here, grab this 2 band colour, loop it up to here. Sorry for my hand getting in the way. Grab a perimeter band colour, 2 bands, and put them across there. So you've ended up with 2 of the perimeter bands, 2 of the internal 2 band colour on both sides, and then you're just going to basically loop up these 4 bands over the top here. Whoops, going from this side might be easier. Over the top here. And then we'll be taking this band with my finger firmly on it over to here, and this will be where I'll be putting my. You may want to use a larger C-clip like you get in the Monster Tails if you have one of those. Oh, sorry for the wobble. But I find that I can manage usually to get 4 band widths on either side. So you can just push that down over there if you want to, pushing it all the way through. Some people prefer to do this on the loom, and some people prefer to do it as finished. I push that one on. I often take them on and do it on my finger. Can remove it from the band then, from the loom rather. Okay, so we've got the clip on there, and now we head down to the other end, and it's pretty easy to find what to hook it to because we've got these bands down here, and you can grab the very end part here, put my hook through it, so you can grab that very end part there. I tend to put my finger through it. It's 4 bands again, so you've got 2 lots of 4 bands on your C-clip. So again, if you find that's a bit much for you, use a bigger one, or maybe run a second 1 band colour through. Okay, make sure it's straight, and pop this onto the 4 bands at the other end. That gives you a nice neat closure, and that's why we did the 1 lot of border bands, perimeter bands on there so that the colour matched when it came to. And there you have, let me put it this way, your swoosh bracelet. Okay, now the one thing you can do if you think that it's not looking puffy enough is you can just get your hook and grab these top bands. There should be 4 of them. Just give them a little tug, just pops them up a little bit. Grab this, give a little tug, it pops them up. See, this one's sitting in a little bit. You can grab it from either side, it doesn't really matter, and just pop it up a little bit. And then give it a stretch, and you get a slightly puffier look there. Okay, so I hope you like this. And with the, I've just discovered with the jelly bands, because this is the first one I've done with jelly bands, the this colour's a bit more prominent. If you do it with the other bands, that colour tends to slip back into the background a little more, probably because the jelly bands are slipperier. So just be aware of that if you're going to use jelly type bands. I've done this with a few different kinds of bands. As you can see with this one, the opaque bands, the those bands there, the purple, slip back a little bit further in. These ones I did with 3 bands on the black and 4 bands on the camo colours. And this one I tried with 3 bands on this side, no, 2 bands on this side, and I think it was 2 bands on that side, and 3 bands on this side, just to see if there was a difference, because these were slightly thicker bands. So you can kind of play around with it. You could probably even do 3 bands and 3 bands to get an even look, and you get a very similar look on either side as it runs, wiggles its way along, less of a swoosh and more of a sort of wiggling, winding one. So I hope you've enjoyed this one, and I'd love to see all of your creations on Instagram. Don't forget to tag me on your photos, and I'll see you next time. Okay, bye guys.